Hi, writers. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to plan your writing with the thought in mind that your goal is to teach your audience something. Now, I want to, before that, remind you of all the things you already know how to do. You have become such strong and independent writers at this point. I mean, I gave you a topic a few days ago and you all have taken off. You already know what to do. It's just a matter of making sure you're staying organized while you're doing it and you don't lose your way. So, my job today, my hope today is that I can give you a little bit more guidance on some of the goals of informational writing and what you need to do. So, take a minute and just think about all you already know about writing before I kind of give you this new twist of something you can do, right? Writing is a lot like learning how to ride a bike. I remember when I first learned how to ride a bike, I could not do it at first. It took a lot of practice. And it got to the point one day where my dad had had enough. He was so sick of practicing with me. It had been hours. And he was like, I'm going inside. I'm done. And finally, it clicked for me. And I got on my bike and I rode away. And shockingly, I still know how to ride a bike today. Right. It's just like writing. It's a skill that you don't lose, but you can improve. So as I became a stronger bike rider, suddenly I could take one hand off the handlebar, right? That's that pizzazz, that flair you can continue to add to your writing as you become a stronger writer. Eventually, maybe it was like a little wheelie. I never learned how to ride with no handlebars, but maybe someday soon, right? So I want you to remember that you have the skills you need to do this. It's just a matter of adding in new ideas and new thinking to improve your writing. So let's think about what we've done so far as we get ready to write an informational book. We have selected a topic. Check. We are writing about the Civil War. Then we think about how our writing might go. Like, what kind of writing might each chapter be? That is where your Brown organizer comes into play. We started working on completing these just recently, right? This is that planning. Well, I have a chapter all about the Civil War because I need to give my readers background. Then I'm picking an important person and an important battle or event. Some of you are even going beyond and planning extra chapters. We've been working really hard on the note-taking phase, finding information that's important and jotting that down to use for later. Now we're kind of transitioning into a place where we have all of our notes, and it's time to turn those notes, those quick pieces of information, into a piece, a final part of a chapter, of a story, of an essay, right? We've been taking notes using kind of like a 2-column note structure, main idea, details. We haven't really touched the summary part at the bottom, but we're getting there now. We are going to take all this information we've gathered and bring it together to take some notes. So, I want to teach you and remind you today that writing an informational book is a lot like teaching a lesson, right? It's a lot like what I'm doing with you and what I do with you every single day. It's your job to present information to the readers in a way that helps them learn. So, in order to do that, it helps to actually do some teaching. So, today I am going to prepare you for that by asking you to take some notes and maybe plan a little script of how you can teach a chapter to your classmates. So, let me kind of show you a little bit of where some of you might even be starting. So, I'm going to give you an example of a student's notes, Yoshi, not to be confused with Mario. So Yoshi's done a really interesting job explaining, this is for the Revolutionary War, but Yoshi is explaining here the causes of the war and what kind of happened, some events that led to the Revolutionary War. So one thing that I really like about Yoshi's notes here is that Yoshi is already planning text structure. Cause and effect. This whole chapter is going to be cause and effect. Think about the little topics in between your subtopics. So, for example, I know a lot of you are doing Harriet Tubman. What exactly are you sharing about Harriet Tubman? Are you sharing a chronological timeline of her life? Are you describing some major things that have happened for her? Text structure plays a huge role, right? You know, in how we take our notes and in turn, how we write our chapters. So I like that Yoshi's already identified that. So thinking about how we can plan to teach about the causes and effects of some major events in Yoshi's experience to the Revolutionary War. So I want you to ask yourself some questions when you're planning to teach, whether it's verbally sharing with someone or eventually getting to the point where you're writing it down. Think about this for each chapter that as you begin to start writing them. What do you want your audience to learn? And what will be interesting to them? Don't forget that some information might be confusing. Think ahead on where people might be confused and clarify those sections ahead of time. If you are going to be sharing about Harriet Tubman and you mention Harriet Tubman was a huge leader in the Underground Railroad and you leave it at that, that's going to confuse some people. They might think that there's a literal railroad underground that a train rides, which is definitely not at all accurate. So think about where you need to elaborate and add more in certain sections. So I want you to think about that. Planning for teaching others is kind of like starting to write now. We're in the process of beginning a draft. Here's an example of how you could plan it. This looks a lot like our outlines already, right? So this person is explaining before a battle, going to attack, and then the aftermath. So here are the main points that they want to hit when they write. How can you express that verbally to someone and share this information? By taking that opportunity to share it out loud, you're going to get some feedback from peers, from classmates on what they liked that you shared and what they wish you would have shared more on to help improve your writing and improve your draft. So that is going to be your task today. Take notes from one section of your writing. So look on your organizer and think about which one am I ready to start developing more. Take your notes and start working on developing a summary that you will then share with a classmate. You'll teach them all about that particular area within the Civil War. Once you finish that, we'll take some time next time and share out, and you'll get some feedback on maybe more things you need to research or things maybe you need to adjust in your summary. Don't forget that in your writing folder, you have a rubric of how to look at your work. I have an example right here as well of all these other things. We're really focused on the elaboration and craft section. So to elaborate like a fourth grader, you want to teach different things and pick those good subtopics. Don't forget to include different types of facts. You are ready or doing a ton of work by getting information from other books and other places. And don't forget about how you're going to organize this chapter you will share. A huge part of informational books is also craft. Pick those academic words, right? Those words specific to this topic. Maybe compare and use some figurative language. And don't forget to take some time and include your own little opinion or your own little snippet at the end, talking about what you believe it means and how you think that this caused something to happen. All right, so once again, you're starting to plan out a chapter now. Start writing a summary using your notes of what that chapter might look like. It's almost like a first draft. You're going to share that out next time and get some feedback to hopefully help you make sure that you are elaborating and using craft like a fourth grader. Happy writing.